Everybody needs to have something going on for
Right.
themselves, because that can be something that can create the next Amazon, next Apple. So all of us have potential. And two, it's like, if you can get a job at a 9 to 5, you can create your own, because apparently they saw something in you.
Right.
So all of us have that potential. It's just we have to, especially in our communities, we have to think about ownership. Powernomics is
finally, huh?
Good. How's it look on your end?
It's good. I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me as well?
I can. I don't know how good the picture is.
It's
Doesn't
good.
look great on my. Okay, great.
It's not bad at all. Professor Athanasios, I appreciate you reaching out to me earlier. I appreciate you just coming onto the platform. So this is about to be a great discussion. I'm excited for it.
All right.
All right. Let's
Me
do
too.
it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Starting off, what was the inspiration behind Jaas Coaching? You are becoming a life coach, college professor, which I've learned a lot from. What inspired that?
You know, I've been thinking about that question, and I think there's two components to it. You know, I come from a broken home. You know, lots of people have. The family that I was born into had the perspective that you don't really get to live the life you want. You kind of just got to get a job, and you're lucky to have that.
Mm.
And so I never vibed with that personally, and so really fought hard to break free from that sort of thinking.
Mm.
And then as things developed, and we'll probably get into this later, but I was raised overseas, Laos, Ghana, India, and Egypt from age 2 to 17.
Mm.
To make a very long story short, I found myself in foster care by 1.5 years. And then my maternal grandmother adopted my brother and I, and then we were raised all over the world. But that perspective still existed.
Wow.
So living in third world countries and really seeing where opportunity didn't exist, because in those countries, opportunity doesn't really exist to advance through for everyone. And so seeing that and being raised in the background that I was raised in, I really, when I moved here, when my grandmother retired and we moved here, I just felt this uncanny obligation. It's weird, it really did. I felt like I have an obligation to advance to my fullest potential, because I had seen so many people not being able to do that. So that combination with sort of the background, because I was kind of even discouraged to go to college, believe it or not.
Wow.
You know, so those two are sort of, over the years, it just sort of morphed into this passion to really never give up and believe in your potential.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Jaas Coaching. I love what it stands for. For people who don't know what it is, what does it stand for? What does it mean?
Well, you know, it's funny. Over the years, you know, my business name changed, but it began with Journey. J is Journey, and my wife's first name is Jocelyn with a J.
Oh, wow.
Second A is Ambition, and my first son's name is Addison.
Wow.
Third A is Action, and my second son's name is Austin, and then S is for Support, and my name is obviously Shawn. So it's kind of a twofold thing, right? But Journey, I realized that if you don't have a vision for your future, it's really hard to take the kind of action that's precise and clear. So I make all my clients create a 12 to 15 year vision with a profound amount of specificity.
Wow.
You know, we think very generally, like I'd like to be a lawyer, I'd like to travel, but we don't say exactly where and what area. So I sort of force that specificity of thought, as well as, again, a 15-year vision. All the folks who've done profound things, if you spoke to them, I bet you a good amount of them had a vision for their lives, right? So that's the journey part. And then when you have that kind of clarity, your action, then you got to combine that with ambition. I do believe a clarity of vision, the default is more ambition, because that's one of the hardest things for me to get folks to do, is have ambition, to have determination, you know? And so when you have those two, then the third A is, of course, then you got to take action.
Yeah.
And then along the way the human condition works, you need to give and receive support. We are not islands in and of ourselves. Nobody does it alone. They may think so, but they don't. So those four components, I realized over the years, this is what is required to succeed big.
That's good. And vision is so important. How do we maintain a strong vision and as well not being too afraid that we don't want to actually take action sometimes?
You know, I will tell you, believe it or not, I have clients who feel, I have a client right now who we've worked through him feeling guilty to say, I deserve to have this vision. I deserve to have the greatest vision and, you know, potential for my life.
Wow.
And then I was like, really? He goes, you know, I just feel uncomfortable. And he had a certain background and he attributed it to his religious background. So I'm not judging that per se, but that was something that he had said. And so, and we broke it down to, you know, in our efforts to be humble, because we do want to be humble, right?
Yeah.
If we're not careful, we end up belittling our potential, right? So we broke through that. So I just think it's critical to give ourselves permission. You know, we have to give ourselves permission to do that. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love that.
And I want to say one other thing about ambition, if you don't mind.
Please.
I always, this is the hardest part about my job. You know, I have been blessed with a profound amount of ambition from a very early age. And we can get into that later, where that came from. And I've always thought, can you teach ambition? And I realized over the years, right, you don't have to teach ambition, but you got to light the fire, right? You got to light the fire to bring forth that ambition that resides in all of us. Makes sense, yeah?
Right.
And so that also is why the vision is important, because the minute you start creating a vision, then your doubts are going to come up and your fears are going to come up. And am I allowed to have this is going to come up. And then as you break through that, I believe the byproduct is the kind of ambition and determination required to succeed.
This is good. I'm enjoying this conversation already. All right. So speaking on fears, I remember our phone call, I guess it was 2 weeks ago now, and we were talking about, and you were explaining how to accept what you feel. And I think that that's such a deep thing, because I think that when doubt creeps in or when fear creeps in, we kind of feel ashamed of just having fear. So how do we accept our emotions?
Well, first of all, that's a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
But it begins with a perspective. You know, no emotion is good or bad. All of our emotions are designed to support us. So when I work with clients, or I'm sure when we taught, and I was teaching public speaking, so anxiety came up in emotion. And there's even a TED Talk out there that I have all my clients and students watch, and whoever's watching, it's just Google TED Talk on how to make stress your friend. You know, anxiety and stress are not bad things, but if we perceive them to be bad, they become bad. Make sense?
Yeah.
So for example, if you're running and your body begins to sweat, you don't worry about it, because you know that sweat is designed to cool off the body and make sure you run them. You know, you're correct?
Yeah.
All emotions are a bodily function that are supposed to occur naturally, regularly, and they're wonderful. Sadness is wonderful. Remorse is wonderful. It makes us human beings. And hopefully by feeling these emotions, it will produce more compassion, more humanity, right? More caring, which is obviously important. So what gets in the way of accepting our emotions is a very simple thing. We judge them as bad. No emotion can hurt you, right? I know I said this in class. Can anybody make you angry, Caleb?
Technically, no. I decided.
No one makes you angry.
Yeah.
People could be annoying, and I appreciate that. But we respond to basics, whatever the circumstance is, with anger, right? Yeah. We respond to a certain circumstance. We're the source. I'm not saying what's being done to you is good or bad. See, people confuse this point. When I say this, I'm not saying there aren't bad things happening to you, right?
Right.
But you respond in your own unique way. And when we as human beings can grasp that I'm responsible for making myself feel better, move my emotion, which means feel them, because we have this unique ability to disconnect from our feelings as human beings, right?
Yeah.
And when we disconnect, we lose the very source of success, which is our, the life stuff here, right?
Yeah.
So it begins with accepting, you know, and opening up to being vulnerable. The one TED Talk was stress, making it your friend. And there's another one by Brene Brown where it's a TED Talk on vulnerability. You know, I'm so grateful when I'm sad. And I know when I say that, people think I'm out of my mind.
That's deep. I like that.
You know, because imagine if you didn't do that. And let's say I yelled at my son more than I should have, which I do, gosh darn it, right? And I felt remorse afterwards. I felt sadness. That emotion propels me to hopefully do better, right?
Yeah.
So that's the whole thing. Emotions are our gift. And ironically, they're what I say universe as a practicing Buddhist. You may say God, I think, as a Christian. But God listens to our hearts, right? Yeah. When we open up our vulnerabilities, that's an important part of it. But
that's great. One thing that I respect a lot is you being a Buddhist and practicing that spiritual system. Like, I love it. And one thing that we spoke about is being still. How do we practice stillness in a more effective manner? Because I know when certain people wake up, we can be on our phones, we can be watching the news, and instantly we get anxious already from watching the election or talking about COVID. So how do we be still?
Well, first there's different kinds of Buddhism, right?
Yeah.
And the way I view it is you don't have to worry about being still per se. Challenge your life. And in that process, you're going to have moments where you just surrender, right?
Yeah.
In Buddhism that I practice, it's about being fully engaged in your life, right?
Yeah.
Other Buddhisms, you might think, rid yourself of desire, right? But that's not natural. It's natural for me to want good health insurance. It's natural for me to want my kids to go to good schools, right?
Yeah.
So just like after a good run, right? 5 miles, we rest and we're relaxed and we're out of our heads, and same with the idea of Buddhism. So certainly there's the practice of meditation, which isn't a bad thing. I meditate all the time. All meditation is observing your thoughts and connecting to your feelings. And you can do that while you're walking with training, right? So, but that said, the key is practice. You know, Buddhism is, the people love to talk about Buddhism. When I bring up Buddhism, they just want to talk about it. And I say, okay, now let's do it.
Yeah.
And they don't do it, right?
Yeah.
So stillness is just, it's simple. I had told a colleague years ago when I was in graduate school at NYU, he was asking me the same question. And I said, well, if you want, you can light candles and cross your legs, put incense on. That's fun.
Yeah.
But that's not required to be still. Stillness is simply sitting. That's it. And as your mind tells you have to go do something, I would say a vast majority of those thoughts you don't have to do. It creates chaos, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I know when I was in graduate school, I've been, chanting. We do a Buddhist chant. It's called Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. It means devotion to the mystical law of cause and effect. Simple. The universe is a science. For every cause, there's an instant effect. Renge is a simultaneity of cause and effect. So for every cause, there's an effect, right? And we make causes with the way we think, what we say, and what we do.
Wow.
Simple, right?
Yeah.
And I know I had been really chanting about 3 hours a day when I first started chanting. I was really fighting to break through and get the things that I wanted in my life. And something happened. And I was in my New York apartment in my boxers after grad school without a job, building my business. And I woke up and I realized there's nothing to do. We're generating, meaning be present. And then when the phone rang, I picked it up. If I had to go, get food, I went and got food. But while I was sitting there for 2 weeks, I just sat there. My brain kept screaming, "You gotta clean the dishes."
Yeah.
For example, and there was a fork. There was a fork in the sink. Making up stuff. So I know it's I hope I might be being too complex.
No. All of this is great. All of this is great.
The idea of being still, most importantly, is don't avoid your life. In the Buddhism I practice, earthly desires are the path to enlightenment. Engage your life. Overcome obstacles. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the point of a spiritual practice. A spiritual practice isn't about being able to sit and deal with your problems. as I see it. Faith, every religion talks about. Faith is about overcoming your obstacles. I'm not interested in dealing with my obstacles. I'm interested in overcoming my obstacles, right?
Yeah.
And that process develops wisdom. You overcome your fears. You find determination that you didn't know you had.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, you got to claim that stuff. Does that make sense?
This is awesome. I'm loving this. Earlier this week, I think it was on Thursday night, and we couldn't get Zoom to work. And what you told me was something that was powerful, where I was like, man, that's really, really deep, about obstacles being a good thing sometimes. And how do we sometimes, I would say, face our fears and obstacles and embrace them and not shy away from it?
It's as simple as I'll use exercise. If you haven't exercised in your whole life and you begin to exercise, right, you do that to feel better, correct?
Right.
And when you first start to exercise, do you feel better?
Nah, not when you're doing it.
You feel bad.
Yeah.
It's awful, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But the understanding, again, perception, the understanding, in Buddhism, there's a saying, I think this is what I told you: when obstacles arise, the wise will rejoice and the fools will retreat. Because you know you're engaging, you're shaking things up, you're not staying in your comfort zone, you're not avoiding. So the minute you engage life, things are going to happen. You know, I'm blessed to drive a Porsche, right? I just got rear-ended the other day.
Wow.
And when it's okay, it's getting fixed. Thankfully, it wasn't my fault. And it wasn't totaled, and they're fixing it. But this is like my dream car. I was like, don't total that. And the minute that happened, I was like, okay, I'm ready to shake things up. I'm excited to move forward. So it's just wisdom. It's just how you, and again, we're always going to go back to your perspective. You know, you could, what does resisting an obstacle do for you, Caleb? What does it do for you?
It brings up challenges. I think that it shows you, you know, who you are as a person. Resisting.
Does resisting help you would overcome that obstacle in any way? It does not.
Yeah.
Resisting the obstacle, wishing it was like a person who has stage 4 cancer. You can resist that you have stage 4 cancer. That's fine, but it ain't going to help. It's still going to be there. So you have two choices in Buddhism. You have two choices in Buddhism: win or lose. When what win means is at least challenge the circumstance. Be in the game of overcoming your obstacles. Because avoiding it only makes it get worse. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
And so a big part of my job as a life coach, I personally call myself a personal development coach. What do I know about life, right? But life is an easier term, so that's fine. You know, my master's degree is in interpersonal communication and conflict management. And so I've combined that idea with career coaching and all that. But a big part of my job is to get folks to not give up. I mean, if I were to say to you, Caleb, that your success is guaranteed, what would you say to me?
If you told me that, I would be super excited. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't know, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But do you start in an endeavor to potentially fail it?
Nope. Only to
you
succeed.
Do not. I don't.
Yeah.
So I say it's guaranteed as long as you don't give up. It's guaranteed. I can't predict the future, but that's why I bring all my clients back to the moment. This moment forward, what actions are you taking? Nam-myoho Renge Kyo is the mystical law of cause and effect, right? So the mystical nature of our actions. Do we know if my action will produce a desired effect? Wow. That's the mystery of life, correct?
Wow, yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about that. Let me put everybody who's watching at ease. You don't have to worry about that. As long as you're taking action, right, causes in the area that you want to produce, you're fine. That's faith. That's real faith. Make sense?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you don't have, you know, just take the action in the area of where you want to go. And in my experience, when you do that with determination and you don't let your mind get wonky, I make all my clients do affirmation lists. I'm creating. I don't want to create this. I am creating this. Because if you say I want, you put out wanting it, not getting it. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right.
I love that. right now with my age group, especially, a lot of us are talking about manifestation more, affirmations, like what you said, writing things down. I do that at least like once a week. What's the importance of us writing things down and seeing it and visualizing?
Well, that's again, we're back to the vision, right?
Hmm.
The overall vision, the 12 to 15-year vision. Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. And this is a
Wow.
quantum physicist. He knew how the universe works. And I'm going to keep saying the word universe. You know, you can say God, it totally is fine. You know, imagination is more important than knowledge. As long as you can envision it, it can become a reality. Now, if you study quantum physics, apparently if you observe something, you can create it. If you begin to see the image in your life, the way the universe works, you create it. Combine that with detailed action, and your success is guaranteed, right? But I know a lot of folks like to they write their lists, they do their vision boards, but if you're doing it correctly, you are moving towards success. You're getting benefits that encourage you to keep going, right?
Yeah.
So if you've been at a goal for 10 years and there's been no growth, you're doing something wrong. That's just the checks and balances. What manifests in our life? I didn't say all of it. I didn't say, right, you get it all in a day. I said little bits that show you're on your way. Yes?
Yeah.
So you do have to see it. And once you see it, it sparks creativity. It sparks your determination. You get excited. Your emotions are involved. So it's just everything.
That's good stuff. With your clients who may say, I might not have all the time to meditate or to be still or to do all the things that you're telling me that I should do. How do we create more time, or how do we schedule our time better, I would say, or our days better?
The clients who say I don't have enough time are fooling themselves. The people who say they don't have more time, you know, I took women's studies in college, admittedly for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I remember you said that, yeah.
You know, there was like 4 guys in the class, but that's another conversation. And I know, I learned I don't remember the woman's name, but she was a judge, a single mom, 3 kids, and she got through law school and she became a judge. And she said, I slept about 4 hours a night, but I made it happen. And I'm not trivializing people's challenges.
Right.
I'm not. But again, from the perspective of there's having a goal, and then there's wanting something. Okay. I know a lot of people will say, I want this, but we do what we want. I'm sorry. If you're a drug addict and you say, I want to quit addiction, and it may be that the addiction has grabbed hold of you, and that's fine. Now, again, this is my perspective, and this is a perspective that I give my clients to encourage engagement, to encourage power, right?
Yeah.
To rid ourselves of victim consciousness. I don't judge it either.
Yeah.
The only thing I judge, I don't care if you're a drug addict, that's your life, whatever you're going through. You know, I have compassion for that. But what I judge is saying, I want something and you're not engaged in it to some degree. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope I'm answering your question, but.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You know, what was the original question? Tell me again.
It was back to the people who would say that I might not have enough time.
So I'm not even talking about scheduling your life yet. I'm talking about how you perceive the things that you're doing. Right? If you want, like I've been trying to get myself in shape when I turned 45, right? I'm 51, it is what it is, right? When I turned 45, my body changed. Yeah. And I was always a thin guy. And I put on 40 pounds. I got married, put on 40 pounds, a lot of baby weight apparently. The husband takes that on, but that's another conversation. And I've been battling, for the first time in my life, 6 years I've been battling this. But I've been in the game, and I have not won. I win, and then it's back, and I win, and it's back, and I'm figuring it out. But I have been in the game. So because of that, I look at myself in the mirror, and I'm just proud of myself. Right? So to schedule your time, before you can even schedule your time, you got to be honest with yourself. If I have clients who say they want to, I don't know, lose weight, because I help folks with that. Right? I've got some knowledge. And they don't go to the gym. I say, you got to go to the gym 3 days a week minimum, do about this much cardio. You got to eat this kind of stuff. And they're not doing it at all. Don't tell me you want to. because we do. But we have a goal to lose weight, and that's great. So once you challenge that way of thinking, then you can, I encourage all my clients to schedule their week Sunday night. Literally, there's a book out there called 7 Daily Habits of Effective People, I believe it's called, by Stephen Covey. And I got one thing out of that book, which is scheduling your life, scheduling your week.
Wow.
So when I was in graduate school, I was a full-time graduate student. I was tutoring kids in reading,
wow.
And I had 2 classes. They offered me 2 adjunct teaching classes. And my day started at 6 a.m. and it finished at midnight. And I scheduled, get up at 6, be in the shower by 6:10, got to have the coffee by 6:20, so I'm not wasting my time. And now I don't have to schedule. It's just sort of my habit. And plus we have these our phones are like these magical machines, right?
Yeah.
Where it does it all for you. It beeps and reminds you. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But that's one way. First, you got to be honest with yourself, right? And then you have time. Get off the internet. Stop watching podcasts on Instagram. No. You know, what does the average person your age spend on some sort of a technological device?
And my age, to be honest, I would probably say at least 9 to 10 hours a day, at least.
And now how much of that, though, is fluff versus work? Because a lot of our work and things we've got to do is through technology. So I'm guessing half of that is just nonsense.
I'll probably say 90%.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's so much time. I learned that in grad school. I had a social life. I told you my schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, literally 6 a.m. to midnight. I was on it. And I got straight A's in grad school. Super proud of that, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So I had to work hard, study hard, and I had a social life. It's just when it's time to study, you just study. Turn the phones off. Study. I'm fighting with all my students. I teach at the University of North Georgia right now.
Yes,
and the first day I tell them, you got to study for comprehension. Right? Don't waste your time. So part of scheduling is not wasting your time. Yes? Right.
Yeah.
So I tell them, how many of you have read a textbook, read 5 pages of a textbook, and comprehended none of it? 99% of my students raise their hand. And I ask them, have you done anything? And they say no, because they haven't, right? If you haven't comprehended it. So go back, focus, if it takes twice as long, that's fine, right? So all of that comes into time management. You know, if you schedule something, but you're doing multitasking, for example. Why is multitasking bad, Caleb?
I would probably say because you can't focus on one thing. And you're scattered.
You're doing 2 things at 50% capacity.
Instead of 100% for each one. Yeah.
Right. They say we use 10% of our brains, and this is part of it.
Yeah.
Right? You've heard that, right?
Yeah.
You know, my wife I'm blessed to have this fabulous marriage, right?
Yeah.
I told you I come from that broken background, so it's one of my greatest successes. My mom had 3 kids with 3 different men, and by the time I was 2, I was in foster care. So, right? And I have a marriage, and a lot of that is close your eyes and figure it out as you go, because marriage is no joke, man.
Yeah.
Right? But she'll do things, and I want to talk to her. She said, baby, go ahead, talk. I'm going to do this other thing. Right? And I'll just wait. I'll wait till you're done. You know, because I want her attention, right? And so it's a big joke we have. It's an ongoing joke. And I appreciate multitasking happens, but when you're multitasking and you're trying to get an A on a test, you're not helping yourself. If she's cleaning and I'm cleaning and we're talking that'll work, right? Check your phone now and then. But if you're doing something serious, don't multitask.
Wow, that's good. That's good stuff. Earlier, I remember on our phone call too, you spoke about nurturing your emotions. How do we do that? Because I think that's such a powerful thing. So how do we nurture how we feel?
Well, again, I'm probably going to say this more complex than I should, but what are you going to do?
Right.
How to nurture emotion. First and foremost, you have to understand that nobody makes you angry, right? That perspective, you are responding to stimuli, correct?
Right.
We've all had the experience where you did something very trivial, whatever it was, and someone raged at you.
Yeah.
Right? You get that?
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, oh my God. And if you're waiting for that person to change for you to be better, I want to feel better. They're mad at me. You know, the people who use anger as a weapon to control and manipulate?
That's good.
You feel me?
Yeah.
You feel me? Right?
Yeah.
So if we're those kind of people, we're waiting for them to change. We're going to be waiting a long time because they use that to control and to manipulate, right?
Yeah. It's power.
So yeah, so we have to understand, okay, they're doing what they're doing. And I don't need to make them wrong, but I need to go and nurture my emotions. And the way that I have my clients do that is through a yoga breath. So I didn't make it up. Yoga's been around for 5,000 years, right?
Yeah.
Just breathe. Sit 30 minutes, and I teach them the yoga breath. Just sit and breathe. Be with yourself. Breathe. The breath connects us to our insides. I call them our insides, right? Our emotional system. Because so that's how you do it. That's how I do it. One way is to just, again, breathe and feel and want to connect. But the way that you got to turn off your head, you got to stop pointing the finger. They're doing this thing to me. They're doing what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
But if we're not powerful, then it's like putting a big weight on our foot and we're imprisoned until they feel better. And that's no way to live. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So the emotional component, which is critical to success. You know, I know my work, I would love to get my work into corporate America. But they talk about, let's talk about our passions, but let's not talk about our emotions.
Wow.
It's a contradiction. You know, you got to get real. My dream job is to be a coach at like a tech firm or something. And I'm looking at people. You ever see their show Billions?
No, I haven't.
Oh, well, they got a psychologist on staff.
Wow.
And she works with folks. And people need that, just support. I would be, again, a coach. I don't have a master. I'm not a therapist. Yeah. I'm a life coach, right? Yeah. But, you know, just to breathe, connect, wanting to feel because feelings scare people. But if you do breath work daily between 5 and 30 minutes over an extended period of time, the result will be connecting to your feelings. And it's just accepting them, wanting them to come up.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How do you...
So you asked how to do it, and that's how you do it.
Yeah. I love that
response. Now, can I say one? I'm sorry, I got to say one more thing.
Please.
The problem with this, I don't want people to feel bad. This is not easy. This is profoundly difficult because we've been told not to feel.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been walking in New York, and everybody walks. I was in Manhattan. I lived in Manhattan for about 20 years. And I'd see a dad telling a 2-year-old who was crying, "Stop crying, you're not a baby." Wow. And I'm like, he's a total baby. He's 2. He doesn't have language yet. He's doing this to express himself. Yeah. Stop telling him not to feel, you see? And so we've been conditioned and told, don't feel, don't feel, don't feel. And don't get me wrong, I am a realist. I'm a New Yorker, Greek, Irish, Leo, so I'm a realist. Yeah. There are times where you got to tell those emotions to be quieted and go do your job. But if you're doing that all the time, when do you get time to spend with yourself? In Buddhism, we call that human revolution. You know, when we chant and we challenge our lives, we're asking ourselves to connect to our humanity. Right? Yeah. So you don't want to be, you know, it's really challenging to go in because we've been conditioned. Outside world make me feel better. When I get a job, I'll feel better. When I have a baby, I'll feel better. You know, if they stop being angry, I'll feel better. And sometimes, say again?
Yeah, like, you know, buying like your dream car, that'll make you happy. Yeah. Right.
And then you got afterwards like, oh gosh, I'm still there. I'm still with me.
Yeah.
So those things are nice.
Yeah.
I love good. There's nothing wrong with material success. I think material success is fine. But they're not going to fill the deep void. Now, the challenge with this stuff is your emotional makeup has nothing to do, sometimes it has nothing to do with your reality, your current circumstances, right? You could be walking around, and I say this to my clients, you know those days where you just got an A on the test, you got a raise at your job, that second date went amazing with that person, all is good, and you're just stressed out. Why is that? That is, I don't mean to get Freudian on everyone, right? But that is old emotional stuff that I believe is stuck and we got to move it. We got to move those emotions, right? And that takes such courage.
Yeah.
You know, it takes, I mean, been doing this work, and I went as far back as a year and a half. This is gonna be deep, but it's all right. Year and a half, I re-experienced what it was like to be separated from my mom at 1.5. And that's a death, because you aren't a full self yet, right? I think it's around 3 years old that you start to create an identity. So I remember experiencing a death. I was like, whoa, this is a death. But I had an adult mind that I was like, shh, you're okay. So you're asking trauma to resurface sometimes, right? Trauma to resurface. And then with your adult mind, you could say, you're okay. You're fine. Versus freak out and go, I don't know, drink or buy something or throw a chair against the wall, all this stuff that we do.
Yeah.
Don't do anything. Just feel it and say you're okay.
That's good.
And breath work does that.
Wow. I love that. I love that. And segue into that, you're someone who's come from a broken home. Also, you traveled the world, many experiences, diverse background. How did you overcome those obstacles to be where you're currently at right now?
Well, you know that my grandmother, when I was in 6th grade, told me, I'm going to answer the question, I promise. She told me,
you're good.
Why do you want to get so good? Just get a C, you'll pass. That was the message I was given in 6th grade. My grandmother's a wonderful woman. She saved my life, so I'm not putting her down. She's passed. May she rest in peace, all that, right? But I remember thinking, what? I want to do better, right? Yeah. So I've had in me personally just an innate, strong desire to do well. That determination we talked about, that ambition.
Yeah.
I'm sure I told this story in class. When I was in 5th grade, I wanted to dunk a basketball. 5th grade, so I went to the high school basketball coach and said, give me some jumping exercises. I did them every day for 2 years. Remember this story?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then by senior in high school, I could dunk back.
Brother, and I'm 5 color, right?
Right. That was my nickname. And I'm 5'11" on a good day. Right? Yeah. So how did I achieve those things? I just think being exposed to the world that way, because I think our obstacles and our challenges can be a tremendous source for us, right? I just think Oprah didn't come from much, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Use that. It's how you use it. But I had an innate want and desire to do well. So that's everything. That's why I put ambition before action in Jaas Coaching. First, you got to generate that. In Buddhism, we call it life force, right? Yeah. So that's my answer, because I've had people ask me that all the time. Like, you mean I had no mom, no dad when you were? I've been on my own since I was, 18. My grandma said, I raised my kids, time to get out, and I'm not mad at her, because it's true, right? Yeah. So I went to college. My brother joined the military, and I remember, and I just think if I had this uncanny ability to accept the truth, don't avoid, accept the truth. I remember at 18 sitting there going, dang, if I don't succeed, I'm done. I'm homeless. I have nowhere to go.
Wow.
So those incredibly trying circumstances, because I accepted them for what they were and didn't complain, that whole resistance, didn't complain, but was like, okay, let's do this. I was able to do it. So I do chalk it up to determination. I've had an innate, and that's why I put, again, ambitions is the first A. And my clients, it's just like, guys, ladies and gentlemen, you need to, no one's going to give it to you. Who's going to give it to you?
Yeah, no one.
There's profound racial tension in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure I've said this in class, and it's awful.
Yeah.
But if you're waiting for the people in power to give you power, you're going to be waiting several lifetimes. They're not going to just give it.
Yeah.
So I love what I'm seeing out there right now. Black Lives Matter and standing up, and Georgia being about to turn blue.
That's crazy.
That's amazing, right? So very complex way of answering your question, but ultimately you gotta, you gotta own it. I had no chance of winning if I didn't own it. I had sort of FU perspective as a young person. I used anger a lot to win. But then at around 26, I realized that's not working. So then I started doing the internal work. And it's really, I worked through college on my own, worked full time, you know, made it happen. And then I encountered Buddhism after that. And I realized, you know, in Buddhism, you just want to open, the heart is what matters in Buddhism. You open up your heart. Don't let your mind trick you. Okay. Because I've had, you know, I have to understand, you know, the mind is full of nonsense. If you watch it, it just says, I've had a client where it's like, I need to lose weight. My health is, I was like, oh my God, how much you need to lose? 3 pounds.
Wow.
Real story. I said, you want to lose 3 pounds, you should lose 3 pounds. But the way you're talking about it, the way you're thinking about it, it's not accurate. To make, right?
Yeah.
We got to be careful not to let this trick us.
That's interesting. I love that. This is good. For everything that you've accomplished and done, that requires somebody stepping out of their comfort zones. And I know for some people, and it can be human nature, of course, to be fearful of doing things that we're not familiar with. How do we do a better job of stepping out of our comfort zones?
I think the breath work is critical to learn to be with our feelings. I mean, the world today, right? I've had students say, I haven't cried in 15 years.
Wow.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Even crying because something's good, right?
Yeah.
Just our disconnect to our emotions, right, is you know, so you got to just do that.
Yeah. I remember in class, now it's crazy saying I think it was 3 years ago because I think it was like 2017, but you would talk about your kids and just showing them it's okay to cry and to feel what you feel. And I know as men in America growing up, like you always have to be macho, tough, and you're blocking so many emotions. So how do we teach our children, our friends that it's okay to cry? It's okay to be sad some days.
Well, again, as we practice connecting to our emotions, right? What we will then, our kids will see it, right? We need to be an example. I mean, I cry in front of my kids. When I make a mistake with my kids, I sit down and say, you know, Daddy loves you. Daddy yelled more than he wanted. He feels bad. And I let them see me crying because I feel bad. And they look at me and they're like, and our bond just gets like this. And they're like, Daddy, and then they come and we have this big hug, and they're all, kids are so amazing, right? They just want to make, and then I tell them, that was my mistake, but what part did you play in this? So I teach them some accountability because that yelling didn't come from nowhere.
I see.
In my defense, I'll tell them, Daddy's about to yell. So you know, I'm about to yell, so please stop. And they don't stop and I yell, but whatever. So letting them cry, you know, when here's a story for you. My son was Addison, my oldest son, was the champion in his spelling class for spelling. So he went to the school's championship league, right? And he made a mistake pretty quick and he was on the sidelines. And as things trickled down, he was crying the whole time. No other kid cried. Think about that. I was proud of him for crying. It means you care.
I see. Yeah.
No other kid cried. I lost, and they're just sitting there. I'm like, I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And it's a reflection of what you're talking about. I teach my kids cry. Now, work harder. Don't cry and be a victim. Crying doesn't mean you're a victim. Crying means you're a human being, right? Right? So that's a story. And I was so proud of him for crying. And I said, now what are you going to do about it? How does this feel? He goes, I don't really like it. I want to win. I said, then work harder. Right? So we just have to model it, you know, do our job, stop shaming people, you know, for feeling bad. You know, when I talk about, you know, overcoming your emotions or being powerful, people think that I'm trivializing their emotional challenges, and I'm really not. It's truly compassionate to want people to break through.
Wow.
right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't want to enable your victimhood, victim conscious, right?
Yeah.
I want to enable you to embrace those feelings. And now what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you don't embrace the feelings, your action will be satisfactory at best. You know, as I see it.
That's great. My age group right now, millennials, I think that our biggest fear sometimes is failure, because we'll post things on social media, try to say that we have this great life, but behind closed doors, people deal with a lot of stuff, and people are sometimes afraid to fail because if my friends see me fail, then I don't look cool in that moment, right? So how
Yes,
do
sir.
we, I would probably say, be more fearless when it comes to failure?
Okay, newsflash. When I was your age, my biggest fear was failure. So it ain't anything new.
Right.
Right?
Right.
What I would tell I tell my clients, I tell my students, I tell my sons when they make a mistake, I say, are you bad, Addison? Austin, no, Dad, I'm not bad. I made a bad choice. Because there's no such thing as a person, bear with me. Okay, we talk about spirituality, right?
I'm listening. I love it.
Human beings are human beings and not bad or good. We make good choices or bad choices. As a Buddhist, we're all Buddhas, which means we all have divinity within us.
Yeah.
As we call it a Buddha nature, you know, the Christ-like. God is everywhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If God is everywhere, God is in us. Yes?
Right.
Eminem said it best. The spirit of God lives in you. I love Eminem, by the way. For that. Right? So, yeah. You know, tell me the question again.
How do we, I would say, attack our fears better, or be more accepting of failure?
Yeah, fear of failure is a wonderful thing because it should produce action, right? So what I worry about, and I do, there's worry here. I don't like saying that word worry, but you know, anxiety and adrenaline. I'm talking about basic anxiety. I'm not talking about anxiety disorders. Anxiety disorders are real. But what's the difference between anxiety? This is how you overcome fear. You ready? What's the difference between anxiety and adrenaline? Basic anxiety and adrenaline.
That's a tough question. Yeah.
It's the same emotion, but one has a perspective that, okay, let's do this. You know, I was a big athlete right before but let's do it. I got this.
Yeah.
That's adrenaline. It becomes adrenaline. I can't do it. I'm terrible. They're going to laugh at me. I'm awful. That's anxiety.
Yeah.
It's the same feeling. That stress video, right?
Yeah.
That stress video that I said, the TED Talk on stress, how to make stress your friend. And anxiety, stress is preparing us to do well. But if you resist it, it doesn't get to serve its function. You see?
Yeah.
I worry. I have students say, Professor, I'm so depressed over the years. I've been teaching 20 years at the college level, right? I'm depressed. I'm like, oh my God, you are? Tell me about your life. And the student will say, well, I work 2 jobs. I'm a full-time student. My mom's struggling. I hit the gym. I'm like, by definition, if you're doing all of that, you're not depressed. You have anxiety. You have stress. You understand? Yeah. So we got to be careful not to throw out, I'm depressed. You're just dealing with normal stress, normal anxiety, normal emotion. You see?
Yeah.
You get that? I don't know if you're understanding, but the point is, how do you deal with, you said, your stress, and how do you, it's fine. If you're doing big things, you're going to be stressed.
It's a lot on your plate. Yeah.
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 So you don't need to overcome your stress. You need to understand that it's part of the game. Brene Brown's TED Talk on vulnerability, and she talks about being the wholehearted, right, who accept vulnerability as natural and necessary part of life. They don't necessarily like it, but they understand that it's necessary.
Mm.
So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, yeah, you have. That's good. That's good. And speaking on you teaching in college for 20 plus years, I had you as a professor, loved your class. A lot of people are afraid of public speaking, right?
Yeah.
What's the importance of you teaching public speaking and breaking down the importance of overcoming those fears and anxieties?
Well, people are afraid of being judged. The first day of my class when I teach public speaking, I said, what is this class about? And it's about having a perspective, having a point of view, and expressing it. That's what public speaking is about. So if your message is important, right, and it means something to you, you're going to have anxiety. But if it means something to you, you feel an obligation to express it.
It's true.
I know there was a young girl, I'm not going to remember her name. I think I'm telling this story correctly. She was shot in the head by the Taliban because she was trying to be educated. She wanted to be educated. She lived, and she spoke at the UN. And she said, you know, I've never done this before, but when they shot me, they got rid of my fear because I know what I'm fighting for matters. And I know that's melodramatic as it is.
Yeah.
Please, young people who are wanting to do speech and express yourself, don't just express what you don't like. Express what you don't like with a solution. Express what you don't like with an inspiration to do better. You see?
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of folks are a little complaining today.
You're not lying.
You're
actually being generous right now.
And they just want to say all that's bad, right? With no want to make it better. And certainly the spoken word is a tremendous. We know Martin Luther King did what he did through the spoken word. So don't fear that very thing, right? That can move you towards success, right?
Yeah.
And the spoken word is profound. I mean, we have political figures who just lie all the time.
That's true.
I'm not talking about policy. You know, if you won the presidency or you won the Senate, I don't like your policies, but you get to implement them because you won. Correct?
Yeah.
You get that? But when you're lying and propaganda and you're saying untruths, that creates a reality. Right?
Yeah.
And dialogue, the very nature, the very definition of dialogue is the want to come to an honest understanding of the truth. Right? So that's my complicated answer to your question.
It wasn't complicated. That's great stuff. And speaking on this current climate with politics, just 2020 as a whole has been a crazy year. Either way, like whoever is president, some people might be scared or fearful or have anxieties. And you spoke about victim consciousness and feeling like a victim. How do we make sure that whoever or whatever our situation is, that we aren't just scared all the time or always worried, and that we can just have inner peace?
Well, our biggest fear is not that we're inadequate, but that we're capable beyond measure, right?
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela quoted Marianne Williamson when he was freed from 27 years of prison, right? So you say, how do we overcome our fear? Is that what I'm hearing? And not be, you know, I don't know, educate yourself. Don't be a victim. Challenge your circumstances. You know, at the end of the day, there's no better drug than overcoming your obstacles. I mean, you know, I had my own obstacles, right? No mom, no dad, no identity, was raised all over the world, so no sense of country. What gives people identity? Religion, family, country, and I didn't have any of it.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
But I had a belief in myself, you know? And so you're not going to just overcome anxiety. You don't just overcome anxiety if you don't challenge your circumstances, right?
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, you're human. I was reading, sorry.
No. Yeah, I'm reading it too. You're good.
Fear is the worst reason not to do something. Understand that fear is the worst reason to not do something. I don't know what does that mean to you?
Fear is the worst. Oh, that saying that I can't do this because I'm afraid. It's like one of the
Yeah,
worst
you're
things.
afraid.
Yeah.
Yep. It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks overcoming obstacles. It sucks overcoming oppression, right? I didn't feel I was given a fair shot. I mean, I'm on my own, 18 years old. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm literally, I close my eyes. I'm done.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Figuring it out as I went. But I had a weird understanding that the idea of not challenging that would be far worse. Because I didn't want to stay in my familial. Man, my family, just to be clear, is my brother, half-brother, a half-sister that I never met, and my grandmother. That's it. Okay? And the idea of, God bless my grandma, she was a rampant alcoholic, right? She's not bad, but it's the truth, right? So I thought, shoot, I don't want to be like that. I want to be something better. And that doesn't mean I'm knocking her. I just want to, I didn't say she was a bad person. She saved my life, but the way she was living, I didn't want to live that way.
Right.
I drive a Porsche. People think that's shallow, but from where I'm from, I'm proud of my vehicle.
Means something.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm proud of, I was told you're not allowed to go to college. People like you aren't allowed to go to college. That's where I come from. And I gave them the bird, and I went to college, right? Let alone get a master's from NYU. You're not allowed to do that. I got a master's from NYU. You're not good enough for a woman to want to marry you. You know how many times I heard young women tell me when I was your age, well, judge a man by his mom. Judge a man by his family. And I'm like, I got no family. Oh, my God. But I challenge those things. And, because if you don't believe in yourself, no one's going to do it for you.
That's a fact.
They can encourage you and try to inspire you. But what I know about the human condition, if you are set on not believing in yourself, no matter what someone says, you will not believe in yourself.
That's right. Wow. This is good. This is good. Professor, what should clients or potential clients expect to gain and to benefit from your coaching?
Well, they're going to be engaged in their life. It's that simple. I mean, I've had clients say to me, do you guarantee my success? And I said, no, I don't guarantee nothing. Because if you're not doing the work, you're not fighting, and I don't know your level of resistance that we have to work through, right? I don't guarantee anything, but I guarantee you'll be engaged. I guarantee I won't let you hide. If you look at my website, there's a lot of testimonials, because I'm going to say but read those.
Yeah.
From college students, from clients. I'm super proud of the work. And it's as simple as you don't get to hide from your life. That's what they get with me. I'm going to tell them, yes, all those terrible things happen to you, whatever it is. Yes, it's hard. Yes. But now what are you going to do? And I work with clients minimum 3 months, because you can't create real change in a session. That's just a conversation, right?
Yeah.
So you got to commit to 3 months minimum. And the folks who work with me for 12 months, their whole life changes. I'm telling you. I mean, it's not perfect. No life is perfect. No life is without problems. But, you'll begin to challenge your internal dialogue. So I teach people how to have the internal dialogue be what they want it to be versus the conditioning of their past. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
I train them how to train. The physical makeup of your brain can be changed just by thinking differently.
Wow.
The Art of Happiness was by the Dalai Lama and some other guy. I don't remember, but The Art of Happiness. And the one thing I remember from that book, because I've read way too many books. There came a time I just stopped reading books. But he said you can change the physical makeup of your brain just by thinking differently. Right? So I challenge the internal dialogue. I encourage your emotional connection. Right? Create a vision. Be in the game. And I guarantee you can't hide. No victim conscious with me. That's good. And I do that with compassion.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I do it with compassion.
Yeah.
But that's the battle. If you want to be engaged, be engaged. And the biggest challenge I have, 90% of my job, I swear to God, is getting people to stop making excuses for being engaged. I didn't say, I don't know what the future is going to hold. This moment forward, are you in the game? So let's say you have a bad relationship, toxic relationship, whatever it is. You gotta change that. You gotta challenge that. If you keep meeting guys who don't treat you the way you want, right?
Mm.
And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They get the physical and then they run away.
Yeah.
You're playing a role in that.
Mm.
Don't say yes. Now, I'm not talking about physical force. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you make a choice to maybe do that too quickly and then wonder why. So don't do it. Yeah. I've had clients like that, and it's so hard to get them to not do it and working through that. Does it make sense? I know you've been with one woman for like 8 years and you're 23.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
That's impressive.
Thank you, man.
So that's what they're going to get. They're going to get, engaged in their life and victory. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They're going to get victory. But I don't like to emphasize that. I like to emphasize being engaged in the process of success, because success is a little bit of action completed, repeated over an extended period of time. A little bit of action repeated over an extended period of time is how you create real change.
That's great. Professor, I can't thank you enough for being on the platform, chopping it up with me. This has been one of my favorite talks. This has been a great discussion. Before we leave, where can everybody follow you, check out your stuff, everything?
Well, I got a Twitter account, but I don't tweet much. I got Instagram, but it's just pictures of my family. I got Facebook, just pictures of my family. But my website is jaascoaching.com. And my contact information is there, and we can talk, and that's how you can find me. But
awesome.
check out my Instagram. It's not private anymore, so you can see pictures of my family.
Right. I love it. Professor, this will be posted on YouTube very, very soon. I'll send you clips, all that good stuff. I can't thank you enough. This was a great talk. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate you too, sir.
Yes, sir. And you have a great Saturday.
You too. I will. Take care.
All right. Yes, sir.